Welcome to Coast View, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, I've got something, a little saying I want to share with you. My friend Frank Willem, great entrepreneur, actually, been on my show before, told a great story. And, he continues to make other contributions to coastal Mississippi. He's a good friend, but he posted this from Power Positivity, and here's what it said. Some people are going to love you no matter what you do, and some people will never love you no matter what you do. Go where the love is. I love that. I've said a lot on this show that we're going to be a product of the people that we choose to surround ourselves with. And, in the social media world where a lot of our interactions take place today, the average person probably consumes a little bit too much negativity and are probably not as aggressive at unfriending people, maybe even blocking some people in their world, so that they make sure that when they're involved in social media and in life in general, that they're surrounded by people who are positive, that can make a great contribution to their lives. I mean, life's tough enough without negativity attached to it. So go to where the love is. That's really great advice by my friend Frank Willem. Excuse me. So anyway, listen, when you think about coastal Mississippi, you think about natural resources. I've spent a lot of time on this show talking about the Conservation Trust Fund that was finally passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. It's going to give us the opportunity to invest greatly into our outdoor enjoyment in this state, and certainly here in coastal Mississippi, aided by tremendous federal matching funds. But you think about the natural resources we have. The environmental quality of coastal Mississippi is really important. It's important to tourism. It's important to our quality of life. And when I was the publisher at the Sun Herald, in my track to become the president and publisher of the Sun Herald, I actually was an operations director for a long period of time and was involved in this sort of almost weekly communication with the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality, just to make sure that our environmental plans were what they needed to be, that we were being proactive, and that we were doing more than was asked of us, so that we could be responsible citizens in this community. I know a lot of companies, say the same thing even today, for sure. When I saw this next guest pop up on my calendar, my immediate reaction was, man, why haven't I had him on the show before? And without any further ado, let me bring in Chris Wells, who is he's with the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality. And he's the executive director there, and someone that I look forward to staying in touch with now that we're going to have this opportunity to visit and get to know each other better. But he was appointed by Governor Reeves, and he had some great history at this agency prior to that. And then he was a trained lawyer. He's done a lot, and as I said to him before the show started, it's a great opportunity to do so many different things. And if you look at the sum total of his experiences, it really prepared him well to be the executive director of this incredibly important department with over 400 employees, a budget of between $200 and $300 million. It's a big job. So without any further ado, let me bring my new friend Chris Wells into the conversation. Chris, how you doing?
Great, thank you.
Good to see you. So where are you sitting right now?
I'm in my office in Jackson.
So you heard what I said, but you did have, as you and I were chatting a little bit about before the show started, the opportunity to do the things you did were really great sort of prerequisites to what you're doing today. If you think back, what is the most significant among them?
Growing up in the outdoors. Hunting and fishing and playing sports and just being camping, hiking, all of that. I was a Boy Scout. Some of my fondest memories are of going on hikes and camping trips as a teenager, and that's really where it all started. A love of the outdoors, and I think that's what a lot of folks that work at DEQ and work in this area of the world, so to speak, I think a lot of it start from there. Just the love of outdoors and wanting to be able to come to work every day and do our part to help preserve the the clean air and clean water that's necessary to be able to enjoy those types of activities. So,
Chris, one of the things that go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
That's really where it started.
Yeah. So I had the opportunity to do SuperTalk Outdoors on Mondays, and I bring a lot of people into the conversation from the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And I would say that what you just said about your team is similar to the experience that I've gained from having these conversations. That they're there because they love this state. They want to make a contribution. And there's not a single person that I've had on the show from the department that wasn't unbelievably passionate about their work. You just said the same thing about your team, but it's true, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The folks that come to work here every day, I truly believe that's somewhere deep down, no matter what they're having to deal with on a particular day, there's something in them that wants to contribute, to do their part. And our mission, is to protect human health and the environment. And that's what we do. That's what we strive to do it every day.
Well, look, I say this on my show, Super Talk. I had the opportunity to join Lake Pickle on the Primo's Truth About Hunting podcast that's going to the world. And I made my case that Mississippi is the capital of the outdoors in America. When you add it all up, you may find better elk hunting over there, better, we don't have mule deer. But the reality is when you think about hunting in the Mississippi Delta and turkey hunting across this state and the diversity of deer hunting that's available and duck hunting and fishing off the coast. And I mean, I could go on, but I can make you a really strong case. What's interesting, I don't care what you do in the state. If you're from here, you probably have some connection to the outdoors. I mean, whether you're on the coast and it's fishing offshore, pier fishing, or, if you're inland, I mean, any number of outdoor activities, maybe it's not hunting or fishing at all. Maybe it's just canoeing and bird watching and just enjoying, going on long hikes. But the outdoors connects Mississippians, doesn't it?
Oh, I think it's a way of life. I've said it before. It's a way of life for so many of us. And even if it's not hunting and fishing or camping, maybe you're sitting on the sideline watching your kids play soccer or football or whatever it might be, getting outside. That's what we enjoy doing. And I think it's, like I said, it's a way of life for us.
Yeah, let's see. Someone once said, into the woods I go to lose my mind and find my soul, Wow. I mean, but it's so true. It's so true. All the adventures that I've been, somebody said, where else can you say that you will go out into the woods and sit somewhere quietly for hours and hours with a pair of binoculars and not move and enjoy the heck out of it, and I mean, I'm talking about even fidgety people can go do that and find this stillness about the world and really get connected to the outdoors. I mean, it's part of our DNA, that's for sure, just as human beings, but it's more to that. So it's kind of the spiritual thing we have. Absolutely. And you've committed your life to making sure that we preserve that beautiful environment for generations to come. Is that what guides you?
Yeah, there's a lot that I could be doing. But I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
Okay. The agency, we talk about the agency having a mission, but I think whether you have a personal mission statement, a lot of people do, I don't necessarily have an individual personal mission statement, but the mission statement of this agency resonates with me.
Yeah.
And that coupled with, you mentioned the responsibility that this job that I have carries with it. One of the primary responsibility is doing everything I can for the employees of the agency, in addition to ensuring, that the agency overall is driven by that mission, and we strive to accomplish that mission in every way. But my job, in large part, is making sure that the people, the employees of this agency, have the tools and resources that they need to accomplish that. And
when someone thinks about the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality, for the average person who really hasn't stopped to focus on it, how do you describe what you guys do and how are you structured?
Well, so we have been historically a relatively obscure agency. We're not a really large agency in terms of environmental agencies compared to other states. We have about 350 employees right now. We've had as many as 400, a little over 400 in the past. But we have 4 primary offices, but in general, we are the environmental regulatory agency for the state.
Why don't we do this? This is Chris Wells, the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality. He's the executive director. And when we come back on the other side, we'll talk about structure and what a day in the life of Chris Wells looks like. And also, there's a Mississippi Restoration Summit coming up on November the 10th. We're going to talk about that as well. So we'll see you after this break. Welcome back to Coast View. We're having a conversation with Chris Wells. He's the executive director for the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality. And as he pointed out, just as we were going to break, this is a department that can be very obscure unless you're working directly with it, say a corporation, or maybe you've done something that you shouldn't have done, and then you'll hear from them fast. That is for sure. But I mean, they're charged with the environmental quality of the state of Mississippi, and that comes in many forms. And what he was about to tell us is essentially how it's structured. So why don't you pick up from there, Chris, and tell us more about how it's structured?
Sure. So we traditionally, or generally speaking, we're the Environmental Protection Agency for the state. We actually do a lot that people don't recognize or don't realize. We have 4 main offices, if you will. The Office of Pollution Control handles all of the traditional environmental regulatory programs: air pollution, water pollution issues, waste management, solid and hazardous waste management, non-hazardous waste management, and hazardous waste management. And so those are sort of the traditional environmental programs, and that's the bulk of the agency and the bulk of the work that we do. But we also have the Office of Geology, and the state geologist is the head of our Office of Geology. They do a lot of geological mapping and GIS work, but also we regulate mining in the state, primarily sand and gravel mining. But we actually have a couple of coal mines in the state. People don't always recognize that or realize that. Our Office of Land and Water Resources deals with water usage issues, ground and surface water withdrawals, and managing water resources from a quantity standpoint. And a relatively historically obscure program that's getting more and more attention these days is the dam safety program. If you construct a dam of a certain size or build a lake of a certain size and can have to construct a dam, you're supposed to get a permit from us. And then depending on the hazard classification and what impacts that breach of that dam may cause downstream, you have to design and construct your dam to a certain standards, and we regulate all of that. And then our Office of Administrative Services is facilities management and accounting and that sort of stuff. We also have an Office of Community Engagement. They deal with environmental justice issues, and we also, housed within that, we also have a small business compliance assistance program where we provide free of charge to small businesses environmental compliance assistance. And then the Office of Restoration was created in the wake of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. We managed the 3 restoration funding streams that came out of the litigation against BP and the other responsible parties. There were 4 funding streams. One was the economic damages, and the legislature and the Mississippi Development Authority deal with that. But we managed the 3 restoration funding streams, and that's a big job. We've got about $793 million worth of projects currently underway, and by the time the program ends, we will have managed somewhere between $1.8 to $2 billion, all for coastal restoration issues.
That's significant. That's significant. I've spent a lot of time offshore and then fishing the backwaters, and you see signs of restoration all over. I mean, that's just part of the deal. So tell me about this Mississippi Restoration Summit that's coming up.
So it's our annual showcase. It's our opportunity to demonstrate to the public what we've been doing, get input from the public on what they'd like to see us do in the future in terms of restoration decision making and implementation of projects. It's our biggest event of the year, and we have it will start at 4:30 in the afternoon I'll go ahead and say it's at the Coliseum, the Convention Center Coliseum there in Biloxi. Starts at 4:30 with an open house. We'll have booths there for folks to come in and talk with some of the people that we work with, sister state agencies like the Department of Marine Resources, Wildlife, Fisheries and Parks, and Forestry. We work closely with those agencies, particularly DMR on the coast. There's a lot of federal agencies that we work with, but also there'll be booths, various project sponsors, people that are implementing projects, and it'll be an opportunity for the public to walk around and go from station to station, if you will, and talk with the people that are implementing these projects and get information on that, the status of those projects. And then we'll have, beginning at 5:30 in the evening, we'll have what we call our main event, the main session. We'll have a presentation where we will give project updates. We'll announce projects for the coming funding cycle. We'll conduct what's called the annual meeting of the trustee implementation group, which is related to one of the specific funding streams. And then after that, as that winds down around 6:30 or so, we will have an opportunity for folks to sit down at a table with us and have a face-to-face discussion about restoration priorities and the things that folks would like to see us do as we move forward.
So this huge unprecedented amount of money that came from the oil spill, how many years from now will it be available for projects to be implemented? So
the payment schedule under the main consent decree, not to get into too much detail, but there were criminal prosecutions and that led to criminal fines. Those were deposited into a trust account, a trust fund managed by the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and we work with them. It's called the Gulf Environmental Benefit Fund. We work with them to fund projects. Those payments have all been made, so that money's in the trust fund. The civil penalty payments for violations of the Clean Water Act and the Oil Pollution Act, those go out. The payment schedule runs through 2031, and so the last payment from BP will be in 2031, and then we'll have project rollout from that point forward. So it's really, you may never see anything like this again. Let's hope you don't, but it's unprecedented, isn't it? It's that two-edged sword, right? You never want something like that to happen, but it's an unprecedented opportunity financially to accomplish some things that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do.
I led the oil planning efforts for Governor Riley in Alabama when I was in Alabama, and we published a book just as we did after Hurricane Katrina, working with Haley Barber on the Governor's Commission, and it's informed a lot of what they have planned to do in Alabama. But what I came to appreciate about the opportunities when you talk about restoration, the opportunities to do so much good and especially in this case, in such a short period of time with unprecedented amounts of money, it's kind of mind-boggling when you start talking about the rubber hitting the road and making selections and, actually making these things happen in a way that as much, you won't shovel in the ground. You don't want a lot of people to get paid at the consultant level. You want brick and mortar or whatever it might be, hitting the environment. Brick and mortar is probably not the right term because in this case, you're trying to get away from that. But you know what I'm saying. It's truly unprecedented what we have the opportunity to do here in Mississippi.
Well, and brick and mortar does come into play. The Restore Act in particular was passed by Congress. It was an amendment to the Clean Water Act. Typically speaking, civil penalties under the federal Clean Water Act just disappear in the federal treasury. This was Congress saying the folks that were injured by this and affected by this spill need to see the direct benefit. And so 80% of the civil penalties through the Restore Act come directly to benefit the 5 Gulf states. And so they also recognized through the Restore Act that it wasn't just the ecology and the environment that was impacted, but the economy was greatly impacted. And in a coastal environment, the two are intertwined. And so anything that we do in terms of coastal ecological restoration, and 80% of the money that of that $793 million that I mentioned earlier, 80% of that has been toward ecological restoration projects. But that 20% is also important. And there's a wide range of projects that we've done both to restore the economy and the ecology and the environment of the coast. And so, and we could go on and on about all the different types of projects, from tourism to workforce development to brick and mortar infrastructure type projects, and then all of the ecological stuff we're doing. And it is a lot to wrap your brain around. But again, and as you've said several times, it's an unprecedented opportunity, and to impact the lives of the people who live, work, and recreate on the coast in a way that, in some sense, we hope we never have that opportunity again, given how we got it. But while we're at it, we want to do as much good as we can.
Well, listen, if you think about this restoration summit that's coming up, no registration is required. I bet it's going to be, we got less than a minute left, but it's going to be a little bit mind-boggling to see all of the projects in one room at one time. You get a real sense of scope and scale at something like that. So good luck with that. So November the 10th, and I'm assuming they can just do a search on Mississippi Restoration Summit, and they'll be able to find the information.
Our website is www.mdeq.ms.gov, or you can go to restore.ms. It'll take you to the web's page for the for our restore work, and all the information you need is there.
Chris Wells, it's been a pleasure to spend some time with you. We'll have you back soon. Chris is the executive director for the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality, and he's got a really important role in this state. So we'll stay in touch with him. Have a great day, my friend.
You too. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We'll see you right after this break.